Hometown Tattoo is in Norwalk, Ohio at 546 Tattoo Studio talking to Robin H.M, a tattoo artist that is as passionate about helping others as she is about her art. You're about to find out why she and Jeff Garton are two people that know what it means to give till it hurts. Alright, we're here at 546 Tattoo Studio with Robin H.M. Hey Robin, how you doing?
I'm great.
Cool. So how long have you been tattooing?
15 short years.
15 short years. And how long has 546 been open?
We just had our 1-year anniversary on St. Patrick's Day, actually.
Very cool. Now, how many artists do you have working at your studio?
We have 6 artists, 1 body piercer, and 1 apprentice.
Now, what made you get into tattooing? What was your...
Actually, the original plan was graphic arts. I went to school for graphics, and I had a friend approach me and say, hey, you know, I know this guy, he owns a tattoo studio, he's looking for somebody to draw, that can draw, he can teach you. And I'm like, you know, that's up my alley, because I was drawing tattoos anyways for, you know, people I was in school with, and I'd always had a fascination with it. From my father, he was a sailor in World War II, and he passed away when I was really young. So one of my most fondest, vivid memories of my dad were all these really old school tattoos. So I kind of clung to that. So when he approached me with that, I jumped on it pretty quick.
From going from graphic design to tattooing, what was the most difficult part of transferring from one medium to skin?
It's one thing to draw something on paper. It's like I tell my apprentices, you know, can you draw a straight line on this paper? And, you know, if they say yeah, then it's one thing, and I say, well, can you draw it on that paper if I'm moving it? You know, so it's being able to transfer, hey, this is what I'm drawing, to an actual living, breathing canvas, because you can't predict what it's going to do. You know, whether it's going to be difficult in your chair or if it's just going to sit there.
What's your favorite part about tattooing?
My favorite part? It's the fact that there's not a boring day. There's never a boring day. After 15 years of still doing this, the pieces change, the people change. It goes from one extreme to another. You know, it's the variety that comes with the job. You know, it never gets boring.
What would you describe your style as? Your style of tattooing?
My style, that's easy. I like to not have a style. If there's a point that I feel is a weakness, I like to try to go after it, you know, and I'm always up to challenge myself. So it's all about the challenge for me and stepping up.
What's your ideal client? Do you want someone that's going to come in and say, oh, here's a visual piece that I have, and have you work off that? Or do you like it when someone just comes in with an idea and kind of lets you riff off that? What's your...
Well, it's all about the variety. I don't have an ideal client. If somebody comes into my studio with a piece of flash, and that's generally what they want, then I'm more than happy to give that to them. And then I jump on those pieces that I get to create as well, that I get to sit down. And that's what also helps keep this so fresh after 15 years, is because there's so much of a variety coming through the door, especially now.
Right.
So.
For your original art, where do you find most of your inspiration from?
I do a lot of stuff on canvas, you know, like with charcoals and things like that. But somebody comes in here and they're looking for a lily tattoo. You know what? I'm gonna go find actual lilies and then transform them. So, you know, a lot of that comes from just pulling from the actual realistic and then turning it into a tattoo.
Now your shop's located in Norwalk. How do you feel Norwalk is as a tattoo town?
I have a very wide clientele. There's all kinds of major highways that run through Norwalk, so it's made it easily accessible for people to get here. As far as this town goes, I absolutely love being here. I couldn't imagine literally going anywhere else, and I get that a lot because I have a lot of people approach me and ask me, a lot of my clients, why are you here in such a small town? Well, you know, this is what's became home to me. You know, I'm very comfortable here. You know, I like the small town, you know, and just because somebody is a tattoo artist that tattoos decently doesn't mean that they have to go run off to some big city. You know, you should be able to find good art and good artists all over the place in smaller towns and things like that.
How do you feel as far as tattoo acceptance in this area compared to other places that you've gone?
It's coming a long way. More and more so, you see different corporations and major companies allowing it, and it's, you know, you can go into a supermarket now and the cashier's got tattoos that are visible where you couldn't see that, you know, just a couple years back. I think that, you know, as far as the acceptance goes, I'm happy to see where it's moving in this direction in here. So.
Right. You were in the Guinness Book of World Records. How did that happen?
Initially it was a plan to raise awareness for cancer because of my father and the tattoo industry. It was my mother's idea. We went through this whole big thing and decided to do a world record. It was her idea. While I was planning it all out, she was diagnosed with cancer and she passed away. I changed the direction from just cancer to childhood cancer awareness because the day that she passed away, I went into work the next day and there was a flyer there for a little girl named Monica Rose, and it was asking for like donations and stuff to help her raise money for her treatments. So when I gave her a call and said to come down, I donated a $1,200 gift certificate to her to have it raffled or auctioned off. Mm-hmm. The day that I decided that I was going to do this, Jeff Garton walked into my studio that day and he has this book and he lays this book on the counter and it's got this crazy elaborate tattoo that's like a replica of the dollar, but it's a little bit different. It's an artist's different spin on it. And I looked down and I was just going over the Guinness stuff on the computer and I looked down and I said, my God, I said, that would take like at least 50 hours to do, and I don't know how you would do that thing in sessions. And it was like a light bulb clicked in my head, and I knew Jeff's personality because he was a regular client at the studio. And I said, wait a second, hey, I got this idea. So he jumped on it, and really there couldn't have been a better person between Jeff and, you know, his wife Jill and Michelle H.M. They sat back and we just started putting it together and we went from there with it.
How did those days go for the tattoo?
Okay, during the session, well, 1 year ago today, I have a 9-year-old son named Rayleigh who the year before, I missed muffins with mom. Okay, so this was a big deal to him, so I promised him the next year I would go. It happened to fall on the record day when we were supposed to start. So I start off my day at Venice Heights Elementary School in Sandusky at Muffins with Mom. And I immediately left Muffins with Mom, ran to the studio, got in that chair, and sat down and started tattooing with Jeff. There was news crews, and then the people. We had everything completely open to the public. There was a window in my booth. I have a board that people would come in and sign. As time went on, memories start to get kind of fuzzy, kind of blurry after a little while. We went 13 hours before we took our first break, and we were allotted 5 minutes for every hour that we tattooed. After that first break, I knew it was going to be rough, so it was pretty tough. It was time to kind of sit there and dig down, but a lot of my focus went to Jeff too, because the entire time I was working on such a massive piece that I knew that I had to start his aftercare as well as tattooing him. You know, I had to do all that because my main concern was making sure that he was safe during the whole process.
Right.
I still am amazed that the pieces look the way that they do, you know, being that I don't remember much about even the last bit of it. It was pretty agonizing. At one point in time, the piece that I did, it's extremely intricate, and I think that might have been kind of almost a mistake because I was using needles everywhere from a 14 liner down to a single needle. And the strain on my eyes, after so long, I had broken all the blood vessels in my eyes. That was probably the worst. So then the pain started setting in, and then the hand cramping, and then, you know, I was worried because you can't eat or drink in the booth while you're doing that.
Right.
So then the dehydration and everything started kicking in. And the record itself, I think, is much more dangerous than any of us would have ever thought going into it, like on a physical note.
Right.
You know, once you get into it, you know, you're like, uh-oh, you know, we're in for it.
Right.
I could not have done this by myself. I had an amazing crew behind me, you know, to make sure that the records were verified. Everybody was safe. We were pushing through. They were picking me up. At one point, literally picking me up. I collapsed during a break. Jeff collapsed. We almost lost the record at, I want to say it was hour 40. Jeff wasn't doing too well, so we used up a break, and we used all the time that we had saved, that we had banked. And immediately when we got back into it, as soon as I sat down, I almost passed out. And we didn't have any time allotted to take another break, which would have cost us the record.
Right.
And literally at that point, I had, you know, Michelle was holding me up from behind, you know. My dearest friend Anita was there trying to push me through.
Now, what was the official title of the record?
It was the longest tattoo session on one person.
And how many hours did it end up being?
48 hours and 26 minutes, and 26 minutes counts.
Right. And now you're planning on setting out for another record.
Yes, I am going to make the attempt for the longest tattoo session on multiple people. When I initially applied to Guinness, it was at 30 hours, and then somebody broke it at 35, and I do believe it was just recently broke again at 41. Guinness, the guidelines for Guinness state that I have to tattoo at least 10 people for a minimum of 20 minutes. So I've got some plans. And once again, I'm going to do it and dedicate it to childhood cancer awareness. I'm probably going to set up, what we're looking at now is setting up something where I'm going to open it to the public and allow the public to actually partake in the record-breaking experience, and probably do it for a minimum donation to a charity.
So do you have people already kind of lining up or putting in requests?
lots and lots, and more than I know what to do with, you know, but I can't say more than I know what to do with, because I know I'm going to tattoo them. You know, if they're there and they're willing to, you know, help out a charity, you betcha. If it takes me, you know, a couple days to get through them all, then I'm going to do that.
Thank you very much. Really appreciate it.
So very welcome. My pleasure.
Robin H.M. and her staff at 546 Tattoo Studio are shaking up the idea of the traditional tattoo shop, all while putting out some amazing art. So the next time you're in Ohio, stop by and say hello, and maybe be part of breaking a world record.